What would you do if you bought land for your future barndominium, paid cash for it, finalized the architectural plans, and after submitting those plans to the county, you were told that you could not build the house that you designed? That might sound crazy, but situations like that happen more often than people think. And when they do, they usually happen for a very simple reason. Someone made a major decision in the wrong order. And by the time they discover the problem, they've already invested time, money, and energy into a project that suddenly has to change. Let me walk you through a real scenario that illustrates exactly how this can happen. The property itself was beautiful, 25 private acres, rolling land, stunning views across the surrounding areas, peaceful and quiet. Exactly the type of place that someone imagines when they start dreaming about their dream Barndo. You know the type of property I'm talking about, the kind where you drive up the road and you immediately start picturing where the house can sit, where the shop could go, where the driveway is going to come in, maybe even where the back porch is going to face. So when you sit out there in the evenings, you can watch the sunset. This buyer fell in love with the property immediately. They had the funds available. The land was exactly what they had been searching for. So they bought it, paid for it in full. No financing complications with the land at all. No delays. Just a straightforward purchase of land that they believe would become the perfect location for their future home. Once the land was purchased, they moved forward with what seemed like the logical next step, designing the house. They hired a designer. Together, they began developing the architectural plans for the Barndominium that they wanted to build. The layout started taking shape. The main living area, the kitchen, bedrooms, the shop space attached to the house, the porches, the roof lines, all of the details that make a Barndominium exactly what they wanted. Over time, the Barndominium plans were finalized. Room sizes were set, exterior materials were selected, structural details were planned. Everything about the house was defined. At that point, from the homeowner's perspective, the project felt like it was moving forward exactly the way that it should be. They had the land, they have the design, they had the architectural plans in hand. The next step seemed straightforward. Confirm the building requirements with the county and move towards construction. So they contacted the county planning office to confirm the permits and construction guidelines. And that is when everything took a very unexpected turn. The county where the property was located did not allow barndominiums. More specifically, the county had restrictions on certain materials used with barndominium construction. Metal siding was not permitted. Metal roofing was not permitted. Steel structural systems were restricted for residential homes. Those materials are a fundamental part of how many barndominiums are actually built and defined by most people. And without them, the house they designed could not be constructed the way it was planned. The structure itself was not the issue. The concept of the home was not even the issue. The issue was the materials used to build it. Because those materials were restricted, the plans that were already completed were no longer valid for that property. Here is the part that made the situation even more frustrating. The surrounding counties did allow barndominiums. If that exact same land had been located just a couple miles away on the other side of the boundary, the project would have worked exactly as planned. Same design, same materials, same construction approach. But county lines matter, and when you cross that county line, the rules can change dramatically. Different zoning requirements, different building codes, different architectural restrictions, different permitting processes. Those boundaries might not look significant when you're driving through an area, but they can completely change what is allowed to be built. At that point, the buyer had two options. Option one, they could sell the land and start over somewhere else. Or option two, they could redesign the entire house. Neither option was ideal. Selling the land meant starting over and basically getting rid of land that they loved. Redesigning the house meant starting over with plans that they've already invested time and money into, and I'm talking thousands of dollars. They loved the property, so they chose to redesign. But redesigning a home after the plans are already finished is not a simple adjustment. It changes much more than people expect. Because the materials originally planned that were restricted, the entire construction approach had to change. Different exterior materials had to be selected. Different framing methods had to be used. Different structural systems had to be engineered. And when the construction approach changes, the cost of the project often changes along with it. So in this case, the new construction approach significantly increased the cost of the build compared to the original plan. What started as a straightforward Barndo project suddenly became a more complex custom home build. Not because the design was unrealistic, not because the property was unsuitable, but because one critical piece of information was not discovered early enough: the county rules. The toughest part of the situation was that the redesign was realizing that the problem could have been avoided, absolutely avoided. One simple phone call before purchasing the land could have revealed the restriction immediately. A single conversation would have changed the entire situation. Instead of purchasing the land first and discovering that there was an issue later, the buyer could have evaluated the land with all the information that they needed from the beginning. Maybe they would have chosen a different parcel. Maybe they would have selected a different county. Maybe they would have adjusted the design from the start. But the key point is this: they would have known. And when you know the rules ahead of time, you can plan around them. This is exactly why the order of decisions matter when planning a construction project. There is a sequence that works. And when people follow that sequence, projects move forward much more smoothly. The land is part of it. The county rules are a part of it. The builder, the design, the financing. When those steps happen in the right order, each decision supports the next one. The land supports the design supports the construction approach, the construction supports the budget, the financing supports the entire structure of the project. I mean, it just goes on and on. And when they happen out of order, unexpected problems show up later in the process. Most Barndominium projects and problems related with them do not happen during construction. They happen way before construction starts. They happen during the planning stage. People need to understand county restrictions. Someone designs a home before confirming the materials are not allowed. Someone falls in love with a layout before verifying whether it even fits the property that they have in mind. Those decisions feel logical when they're happening, but when the order gets changed around, problems start stacking up, and those surprises start getting expensive. Situations like this are exactly why my clients reach out to me before purchasing land, when they know what they're supposed to do first. Because by the time you've already committed to the property and you've finalized plans and invested months in the design, fixing a problem becomes much harder. But when we evaluate things early in the process, we can identify potential issues before they become expensive mistakes. We can confirm the county regulations. We can evaluate the land. We can look at the design with what is actually allowed and structure the financing correctly from the beginning. That approach protects the entire project. So, if you are thinking about building a barndominium or a custom home or a modular home, any type of home, and you want to make sure that the land and the county rules and the financing actually work before you jump in, here's what I want you to do. Go to the link in the description and just follow the process. That gives me the information that I need to start reviewing your project. Once we can evaluate that project, we help you map out the right path forward. Because building a barndominium can either be an incredible experience when the decisions happen in the right order, and not be a total nightmare. When that sequence is handled correctly from the beginning, the project has a much better chance of moving smoothly from the planning to construction to the day you finally walk in through the front door of your beautiful new home.